Whole civilizations once trembled at the sound of my name.
And yeah, welcome, actual justice warrior.
What's up guys, Sean here, and today we're going to talk about what happens when Cenk's nephew attempts to think. Spoiler alert, it does not go well for him. I've been actively avoiding making response videos to Cenk's nephew over the past 2 months. I had a 2-hour-long conversation with him on his Twitch stream, and during that conversation, he admitted that he doesn't read the documents relating to the cases that he talks about in his videos.
So, did you read the 86 report by the Department of Justice on the Michael Brown Darren Wilson incident?
The 86 report? No. Wait, what do you mean?
It's an 86-page report.
Oh, the 86-page report? No, I did not. No.
Okay, so in that report, it's not a matter of interpretation on who was telling the truth. All the forensic evidence supports Officer Darren Wilson.
When I pointed out that he uses bad data in his videos, he blamed the source that he ripped the data from rather than himself for not vetting it properly.
Okay, so your anger is about the language used in the academic paper that I am talking about. Is that what it is?
I'm asking you if you're aware that you're misquoting police statistics.
I mean, I'm not misquoting police statistics. I'm quoting the academic paper.
And it wasn't just that. He couldn't understand the basics of the points I was trying to make. He kept trying to insinuate that I was a racist. And then he kept trying to say that because I had a lower subscriber count than him at the time, that my opinion was somehow not relevant because, you know, if you have more subscribers, that makes you correct. Now, what's hilarious about those last 2 points is that the reason Cenk Uygur's nephew was mad at me is because I made a video entitled Cenk's Nephew is the Worst, where I reviewed his original debate with Charlie Kirk at Politicon. During that video, my #1 criticism of Cenk's nephew, and you can go watch it back, it's almost 2 years old now, was that he's always trying to insinuate that his opponent's a racist.
Like, I don't think you genuinely advocate for white supremacy. I think certain policy positions that you may be on board with probably have this negative outcome that is resemblant of white supremacy. But
what are some things that we can do to actually increase dialogue across political differences on campus?
Eradicate safe spaces, make sure that there's white supremacy everywhere on college campuses, and then maybe it'll be good again. Maybe we'll make America great again.
And that he also tries to use his social media popularity as a counter argument to legitimate points.
Run an organization that tries to indoctrinate youths to an unpopular idea, but it doesn't give you the right to be popular. At the end of the day, it's very difficult to elect someone that's unlikable. People into progressive ideologies that no one wants. You're not popular, but if you're not popular, if you say unpopular things, you're not popular.
When he comes on.
I agree with that. I think Ben Shapiro should be able to speak on college campuses.
That's the problem.
But if he can't, because he's so unpopular, so why? Why do you think there's so much backlash against these ideas if they're not unpopular? There's a lot that's wrong with the conservative movement. I'm sorry.
Well,
which is why it's unpopular.
After all of that, I decided to make my recap video of our debate, upload it, and pretty much be done with him until he does something really, really dumb. And he's tempted me a few times. First, by leaving a comment claiming that I took him out of context in my recap video, and then saying that he was going to upload the full video because with full context, he was going to prove that he was 100% right during the debate, and I was 100% wrong. Of course, I replied to that comment saying, upload it. I'm not afraid of more context. I would love to have the full video out there on YouTube, instead of it being buried on Twitch. And 2 months later, shockingly, Cenk's nephew never took me up on that offer. Now, with all that being said, I was perfectly happy to move on with my life and not make videos about other people, but then Cenk's nephew decided to go on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, A Fallen State. Now, this interview is hilarious from start to finish. In fact, the first thing Jesse Lee Peterson asked Cenk's nephew about is the nickname Woke Bay, and then he throws up the funniest graphic next to him.
With me today, Woke Bay. BuzzFeed call him Woke Bay.
Come on, dude, you're gonna put a My Little Pony next to Cenk's nephew? You know that's not cool, but it's pretty damn hilarious. Another hilarious thing about this interview is the same thing that's always hilarious about every Jesse Lee Peterson interview, is that he will ask you the same question over and over and over again until you answer it. And if you try to answer it with a little bit of a qualifier, he'll just ask it again. And that was on full display during this talk.
Do you believe that black people are victims?
It depends on the individual.
You believe some blacks are victims?
I mean, everyone has the capacity to be a victim of
How
the
about
system. I
black
think all
people?
people are victims of the
How
system
about
that
black
we live
people?
under. Black people would be encompassed under all. There's
How about
exploitation
black
happening
people?
at every level.
How about blacks?
I already said that. They're
Do
under
you
all
believe
people, right?
black people are victims? Do you
Yes.
believe that black people are victims?
Do you not understand? I'm saying yes. I'm answering your question. It's
Do
not
you-
like a gotcha question.
So do you believe
as
that?
long as I elaborate.
Do you believe that black people are victims?
I already answered your question.
I didn't hear it. Can you give me an answer?
I said black people, just like all
I
Americans
didn't
or
ask
all
about all.
people.
Do you believe that black people are victims?
I already told you what I believe.
Well, I didn't ask you about all, though. I only asked about
I
one
said
group.
just like all people,
I didn't
black
ask
people
about
are,
just like all. Do you believe that black people are victims?
of what?
Period.
Of what?
Period. Anything. Are they
Yes.
victims?
But of what? You
You're
have
not
to
going to answer
describe
that,
it.
right?
The man is an unstoppable machine, and there's something about that tone repeated over and over and over again that forces you into compliance. You will answer a Jesse Lee Peterson question, and if you don't, he'll probably throw you off the show. Now, while the whole interview was funny, and it was hilarious to watch Cenk's nephew get steamrolled while trying to sell communism on Jesse Lee Peterson's show, there were two very special moments that made me want to make this response video. And the first is right here.
And so this
Sure
guy,
is.
Cenk, what's his name? Cenk?
Cenk.
Cenk.
Yes.
Is that your nephew? I mean, your
No,
uncle?
my uncle, yes.
That's your uncle?
Yeah.
What is it? You work for him?
I do, yeah.
We made it. We've made it to the Jesse Lee Peterson show, guys. Did you guys catch that? Jesse may have butchered the question a little bit, asking him if he was Cenk Uygur's uncle, but what he was getting at is that he's Cenk Uygur's nephew, which means that this channel, which has been promoting the fact that Cenk Uygur's nephew is in fact Cenk's nephew, has reached the level of Jesse Peterson. And that's not on me. I can call him Cenk's nephew repeatedly on my videos, but without you guys repeating it and making it such a well-known thing, nobody would be asking him about it in interviews. But because of you guys, because of you getting that message out there, that is now a standard interview question for Cenk's nephew from this day until his last day. And I'm proud of you. Now, while that was a nice moment for me, and hopefully it was a nice moment for all of us, Cenk's nephew actually blessed us in this very same interview with a nice moment for the world. And that's the thought experiment that he came up with all by himself. Or more likely, he probably read it in a comment and thought it sounded brilliant, even though it's completely idiotic.
Let's say that you make 15 loaves of bread, okay? You're making 15 loaves of bread. Then you hire someone, and that person also has the capacity to make bread, and together you guys start making 20 loaves of bread, and you're like, well, okay, I'm going to take 15 loaves of bread for myself and give this person 5 loaves of bread as a payment, okay?
It was at this point that I knew that this analogy was going to be something amazing. Because already, it makes no sense. Think about it. If you're an employer who can produce on your own 15 loaves of bread, and you hire an employee that can produce 5 loaves of bread, but you pay that employee 5 loaves of bread, then that job is not helping the employer at all. You're breaking even on that employee. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of economics already at the very beginning of the thought experiment. For this analogy to even begin to work, you have to understand that if somebody hires an employee to produce for them, then they have to gain something from that productivity. For an employee who can only produce 5 loaves of bread to be profitable to the employer, they have to be willing to accept less than 5 loaves of bread to be profitable. This is the most basic thing about hiring people and economics you could possibly understand, and it's already messed up, and we've only just started this thought experiment.
So now your output is 20 loaves of bread, and the other person is getting 5 loaves of bread while you're getting 15 still.
So the output is actually still 15 because you're breaking even on that employee. They're producing 5 and taking 5 home as compensation. If you're paying that employee 4, then maybe you have an analogy that works because the employer is taking 16 and his productivity has increased by hiring that employee.
And another undocumented person comes in.
Illegal alien?
Yeah, illegal alien, sure. And all of a sudden, that person is working as well with your company. So let's say now, because of that, there's an additional person, now you can pay the other, the original employee 3 loaves of bread, because you can pay the undocumented person 2 loaves of bread, because the undocumented person doesn't have all of the rights that a legal citizen would have. So you can justify paying them less. And then you can justify paying less to your original employee because there are plenty of people who could take their job, right? You're like, well, you know what? If you want to keep at least any loaves of bread and feed your family, you're going to have to take less money now. Okay?
This is another hilarious aspect of this analogy, is that there's actually no reason for the second employee to be an illegal immigrant. Like, the principle still works the same as long as it's anybody willing to take less money, less compensation, less bread in this analogy to do the same work. But Cenk's nephew's head is like a swimming pool of regressive talking points. So in his mind, needlessly overcomplicating his analogy doesn't make it less understandable, it makes it more virtuous.
And another undocumented person comes in.
Illegal alien?
Yeah, illegal alien, sure. And all of a sudden, that person is working as well with your company. And now,
I don't hire illegals.
Okay, hold on, not yours specifically. I'm just saying this is a thought experiment.
I like how Jesse just moves to shut him down by saying, but I don't hire illegal aliens. This is exactly why you don't add unnecessary variables to your thought experiment, because you end up getting responses to those unnecessary variables and not your actual point.
Now, you look at that and you say, hold on, why don't we just eliminate the undocumented person and get 5 while the boss still gets 15 loaves of bread? Because I was getting 5 last year, and that was better than 3. And you're right, that is better. 5 loaves of bread is better than 3. However, what I advocate for is taking away from the boss 15 loaves of bread, helping him have 10 loaves of bread, and then taking the rest of the 10 loaves of bread and distributing it evenly amongst the other employees. So all of a sudden you have 7 or you have 8, and your new friend, who is the undocumented citizen who came in, has 7.
It is at this point that we reach peak stupid. Forget about the fact that Cenk's nephew just called an illegal immigrant or an undocumented immigrant an undocumented citizen.
Is the undocumented citizen who,
which by its very nature is an oxymoron, and focus on how nonsensical the system that he's advocating for truly is. So according to Cenk's nephew, if you are an employer and you are capable on your own of producing 15 loaves of bread, and you decide to hire 2 employees, one documented and one not documented for some reason, because that needs to be in the analogy, then you should be punished by having less than you would have had you hired nobody. That's right, in Cenk's nephew's thought experiment that he perfectly thought out, it makes sense for an employer to be penalized so much for hiring an employee that they actually lose 1/3 of their income. And for some reason, it never entered his mind that a person who can produce 15 loaves of bread by themselves wouldn't hire 2 people if that meant their take would diminish. A 3rd grader would tell you that the logical conclusion to the system that Cenk's nephew proposed is that person not hiring anybody. Cenk's nephew just showed that he's completely economically illiterate, which shouldn't be surprising to anybody. He's a self-proclaimed communist. You don't become a communist if you understand anything about economics. But even worse than that, he couldn't follow the basic logic of the thought experiment that he himself brought up. This was not prompted. He was trying to bring this up since early in the conversation, and Jesse Lee Peterson was like, finally, go for it. And this is what he came up with.
Can we play a thought experiment really quickly? I would love to just...
I do, but I'm running out of time.
Okay, can I just ask you one thing then?
No, I will. I promise to let you.
But can I ask you the one theory?
Amazing.
And afterwards, Jesse's baffled. He's like, is that a question? And then he proceeds to dunk on Cenk's nephew.
And your new friend, who is the undocumented citizen who came in, has 7.
Is that a question?
No, this is the difference between your outlook and mine. Whereas I think that the people at the top have a lot. and they have a lot
so
to
do
give
I,
back.
Do I own the company?
Yes.
And I'm in business to make what?
Loaves of bread, let's say.
I rest my case.
Exactly.
The owner should have
well,
more.
You're still, no, but.
Because that's why he's the owner.
I know, but if you were alone, you would not be able to increase your productivity. You would not be able to create more loaves of bread. Let's say that you make 15 loaves of bread, okay? You're making 15 loaves of bread. Taking away from the boss 15 loaves of bread, helping him have 10 loaves of bread, and if you were alone, you would not be able to increase your productivity. You would not be able to create more loaves of bread.
There's nothing more I can add to this. This was his A+ material. This was the point that he was dying to bring up since earlier in the conversation to Jesse Lee Peterson. He genuinely thought that this bread argument was going to show how capitalism is inferior to his communist utopia.
Can we do
How
that?
old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh,
Yeah.
no wonder.
Why would you say that? What does that mean?
I rest my case.
Oh, okay.
Wonder.
Wait,
There is genuinely nothing I can say about Cenk Uygur's nephew at this point that's worse than just letting him talk. Letting people watch his videos. You don't need me or any other content creators to debunk him when basic math and logic are hurdles that the man can't get over. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. If you like this video, then please show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content, leave a comment down below. If you'd like to support this channel, you can do so via one-time donation through PayPal, Subscribestar, which is back up and running, or through Patreon. This has been me once again proving that Cenk's nephew is the worst. Till next time.